So I was talking about, it's like, you're my pen pal.
Yes,
Because I was like following you through, going through the process.
Yes.
And then when you came to me and said, hey, I have this opportunity and I don't have this, worried about it. And I was pen paling you and we just had this great email relationship.
Yes.
And then I was at home watching you compete on the show. I was so excited. And I remember after like the first episode, I was like, oh my gosh, you're killing it. I just felt your warmth and, never meeting you in person and then having this opportunity, but it's like meeting your pen pal.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I felt the exact same. And, going through all of this, it was stressful enough. So it was good to have someone to talk about, I'm afraid, I'm scared, what's going to happen. So thank you for that.
Gosh, and you're not alone. You're not alone through all the process, not even with that incredible opportunity you had with the Food Network show, but just the whole process,
Yes.
There's just, I know, I think we need like psychiatrists on board. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. I think that's actually a great idea. We should know that.
I was talking to John Cooper that's been with us for a long time, and he said, yeah, I think I'm half psychiatrist, half consultant, half but it's a lot of that, and we're here for that, But I know, but I probably need to be properly trained.
I don't remember how many times I called John Cooper.
Yeah.
With all my dramas unfolding. John, can you please give me advice?
He's heard it. He's heard it all. You're not going to surprise him.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's been. I mean, I feel thankful for you for
But you got to have somebody, right? That you can
Yes.
you can go to family and they might not say, well, that's not a realistic expectation, or that's not how the process works. So what I hope we can do is to give that emotional support, but also giving good sound advice at the same time, and setting expectations. So I hope that we did that, and we'll continue to try to get better, set expectations, that emotional support, because you need that, just somebody just to let it all out to sometimes for this process.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, when people ask me about the process and how's the whole thing and what do you need to go through all of this, and then number one is patient, right? You need to be patient, way more than you think you need. That's the most important thing, in my opinion. And but also, how do you manage all these expectations during this time? You're trying to be patient, but
you're also trying to make plans.
Exactly.
You also have a family, and many of you have a family.
So that's why it's so important to share this with people, I think.
Yeah. And I hope that our Facebook group does that a little bit. I know, but we're here, but I get it. You need that emotional support, patience, and realistic expectations. And I think we'll always continue and try to do that better. Right?
Yes, no, absolutely. In the group, it's what I needed to have that affirmation that more people were in the same boat. We're going through the same thing, and then you can just express how you feel. Sometimes it's good expression, sometimes not as good. There's a little bit of everything. You kind of have to filter it, but it's good. It's good, that feeling that you're not alone. And I say that because as an immigrant, that's the first thing you fear once you decide to move to another country. Am I going to be alone? How long until I see my family again? And how about my friends? It's part of that decision. It's just, you also decide to be alone for a while. So then when you kind of find people here, they're here to support you, or to be open, or to accept your accent and pretend they understand what you're talking about.
What a big decision to make. How did you make that decision? I mean, what said, okay, this is definitely what I want to do?
I do believe that it's a constant decision. It's something you have to repeat. You repeat every day. I wake up and I repeat that decision. I want to be here, because it makes sense to me. And it's a hard path, of course, but I like it. I like the challenge. I like the new experience of learning another language. I think you can incorporate so much from other culture into yourself. But it's hard. I can't tell it's easy.
I just admire all of our clients for making that big step and going through the sacrifices and enduring what you all have to endure to go through this process, which is patience, questioning, anxiety, timing.
Yes.
I hear from so many foreign nationals, it's hard to make our next plans, or do I sign a new lease? Do I sign a 6-month lease? Is that realistic or unrealistic? Making those plans. And I think that, I think certainly many Americans don't understand the stresses and the decisions and the anxiety that goes through the process. And
I think what defines the whole immigration process, you know, like from the day you decide you want to become an immigrant to the day you arrive in another country, is fear. You know, you are afraid of things, but even though you keep going.
So you mentioned patience. I mean, so tell me. So remind me again exactly, because there's so many stories. I mean, you had patience. So how long? What was your timeline like? Everybody wants to know, what's your timeline?
What's your timeline? Timeline is the word everyone wants. And no one can offer that because, you know, no one controls that.
Very different.
It's also part of the process, you know, you have no control over it. So let it go and be patient. But for me, I think patience in my case was not exclusively during the immigration process with BDV, EB-3 and everything, but the whole journey. Because I studied English for 4 years. I had to be in school full time until I figured out that I would apply for EB-3.
Yeah.
You know, so that required patience because I had to.
So you were adjustment of status. You were a student.
Yes, I was a student. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I needed to work eventually. You know, my savings were all gone. I needed to figure out. I was getting older, and that is the patience time. You know, it required a lot of patience from me. But then when I started the process, I went into it with the mindset that I would wait no matter what, because I took that decision. And you have to be aware, it's going to take time. You know, it's immigration. We know it takes time. Mm-hmm. It's not on anyone else's control. So you have to be mindful about that. Because if you're overthinking and just worried and imagine things that, you know, could happen, what good does it do? You know, in my case. I know it's very positive.
No, I understand.
Most of the times I was just freaking out. And oh my God, why didn't I get an answer? But mostly, you know, I do encourage people to go in that path of trusting the process and being patient, because eventually, the day that green card arrives in your mailbox,
you forget about all that time you've been waiting.
You forget about it. You forget about it. You just, you know, it's like it's a new chapter, and I think everyone really wants that. You know. Yeah. So I got to the U.S. in 2016. Yeah. And then I applied for EB-3 in 2019, end of 2019. Yeah. And it took 18 months, more or less.
You started right when COVID delays came.
Yes, yes. So there was a retrogression, which everyone says would, you know, delay the process. It did not delay a thing. So, you know, don't overthink. You never know. And my process was actually pretty quick. Yeah. It was super fast. I got my green card without an interview. Because of COVID, they needed me to start working soon. So again, fantastic. See, it's positive. I think of course, things could go wrong, but things could go right too. Yeah. So you have to be open to either way. And then I got my green card almost 2 years ago, I think. 2 years ago. Yeah. No,
but that green card just kind of came just in time for you to be able to go on the show, right? I mean, that was just a blessing.
Oh my God, the green card. So the green card came on my deadline to send my final application to the show. The day I received my green card was
so the day you received your green card was the deadline for
to send my final application to the show. And
that was a prerequisite. You had to have a green card to be able to do it?
Yes, because they required the green card first because I needed one to participate on the show, but also because my prize required me to fly to travel. And yes, so I needed to be able to come back.
You're talking about stress and pay. Oh my gosh.
I had... It's hilarious. I cannot even think about that.
You can laugh about it now. You can laugh about the stress now.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I was having breakfast, and then I got an email, and then I called Mitchell. Yeah. And I said, "What's going on? Why did I get a green card? I didn't even start working." And then he explained.
I think you were like on your way to start working.
Yes.
You were like driving cross country on your way to start working.
Exactly.
And that's the one. That's why the timelines can be all over the place. Yeah. Because some people, I mean, we've gotten people that get green cards before they get an EAD. They're doing adjustments.
Yes,
I can't explain that. It doesn't happen very often, but it can.
Yeah.
You know,
I think people,
and COVID made it crazy too.
Everything, right? Yeah. Everything. It was only a result. But I think people shouldn't stick too much to the timeline. You know, like you shouldn't be thinking too much about the timeline. Yeah. And I know we tend to do that. I did it myself in the past. It's tough. But there's no need. You just have to be, keep an eye out, but go about your business.
I mean, really, it should just be it's a part of the immigration process. If you're not doing EB, if you're doing H1, or if you're doing family or fiance, it's all wait and wait and see. It all is, but this still is a really fast path. I mean,
it is. I think my only regret during this whole process was not have started it before. You know, I wish I had done it before.
Yeah.
Because it took me 4 years to finally find BDV and decide. So I wish I could have done it before.
You know, how did you find us, and how long did it take you to trust us and decide you want to go with B2B Solutions?
So for me, I found BDV through a Facebook group. I honestly don't know how. Maybe the algorithm just showed it, the algorithm again, making its magic.
Yes.
And then I found the group and I read everything. And I have a legal background, so you know, I'm always doing my own research to make sure things are fruitful. And I believed BDV since day one. You know, I don't think you guys would put yourselves out there to be lying to people. That's what I thought at first, you know, many years ago. It was a long time. The group, the BDV Facebook group was still small when I was one of the first ones to be there. And then one day I talked with Mitchell, and he was the kindest and then so receptive and explained the whole process again, even though I had read about it. And I just felt, you know, confident that you guys could help me. And
but it took you a while.
It took me a while.
Because you were doing your own research. And then were you just kind of watching what people were saying?
And then at the beginning, we didn't have as many, you know, successful cases popping in the group or people getting green cards. So it started a little slow at first because that COVID just slowed everything down. Exactly. So it took some time, and also because I was figuring out finances, bringing money from Brazil, and all of that, and it takes time.
Which that's another thing you have to be patient for, and you know, get creative and figure out how to do that safely, legally, and sometimes you have to do little chunks, but so it takes a while to make that final decision.
And also the job, the open positions too was a big thing, because the first open position I found that I was interested was actually for a restaurant in Greenville. So the restaurant I visited yesterday, and then I remember they mentioned they wanted someone to build a career in the restaurant, and then that to me was everything I wanted. But then when I went to apply, there was no more open positions.
So that goes again, like starting, if you see something you like, because they will go, because the sponsor is only able to sponsor just so many people, so when they're gone, they're gone.
I actually experienced this twice, because the second position I wanted, that was for San Diego, McDonald's in San Diego, I was sure I wanted that, but then it went out like that and I missed the spot again. But what happened is that one day, another lady that was in the process reached out to me through Facebook, because she saw me commenting on one of the posts, and then she said, I'm giving up, I changed my mind, I don't want to move anymore, would you like my spot in the process? And then since it was at the beginning, it was possible to make a change. And then you guys were quick and fast and helped me, and then we transitioned, and then next thing I know, my labor certification was approved.
Wow.
So,
wow. You had a lot of things line up.
Yes, absolutely.
You had a lot of things line up. That you just had somebody took that last spot and then decided they didn't want to, and then so it came available again.
Exactly. And this lady, I still talk to her. She's in Brazil, and she tried to apply through, you know, other ways. I don't know if it's the same kind of visa. I never got into details, but it did not work. You know, she's still struggling with it. So that,
maybe she will be your client after all.
Hopefully, but you know, that's the thing. You know, don't miss an opportunity. Just give it a shot right away. If you feel like you should, just go for it.
So, Jaíne, you talk about, you know, the big decision, the patience, what it took to you to make this step. So you did it. So what's the overall impact? I mean, can you imagine not doing this process? What would have happened, or what's the overall impact this has had on your life of making that decision, trusting BDV, going for it? What's the impact has it made on your life?
I'm really glad I made that decision and I trusted BDV, because otherwise, you know, probably I wouldn't be here today. I would have to go back to Brazil or move somewhere else, you know, because of immigration limitations. But to me personally, and the reason I stayed in the US is because I could see that my career, my passion, I would have, you know, more chances of a successful career here.
Yeah.
And then I knew I had to figure this out first in order to build my career. And then without this tiny green detail, I would not be able to accomplish anything. You know.
So when you were getting your green card, what was your plan? Did you have one?
Sort of, not a good one, but I haven't. So at the time I got my green card, I was writing for a magazine in Brazil. You know, I knew I wanted to be a food writer here in the US, but I needed to find a way of, getting a job. So that was my plan. I would just get the green card and try to apply to, jobs in magazines.
To be a food writer.
A food writer, yeah. I knew, because for me, it was always a matter of, if I'm doing this, it's because I want to focus on my passion. Because I could comfortably be a lawyer back in Brazil up to this day. This route I took is way harder than the one I would have gone at home, but it's worth it, And then I do believe that the green card is the tipping point for all of that. I wouldn't have gone to France. I wouldn't have participated in the show. I wouldn't have been able to work in other projects.
You're so modest, participated in the show. You won that darn thing, honey. You won it. Participated. You took top prize.
Oh my God.
That's true. So have you kept in touch, or have you made, through the employer you worked with? So you saw other people, you were working with other people at that restaurant with other EB-3 people, and you saw the impact, and you heard some good stories or struggles or things. Did you see lives change there too?
At the time I started working for my sponsor, other friends, Brazilian friends actually, started working at the same time. So we went through the whole oh my God, what am I doing? Self-doubt, this is so hard. I don't know why I decided to do this too. Oh my God, we're almost done. And then
at least you're doing it together. You're doing it together.
Yes, and now I see all of them that, finished at the time I finished, the time we had with our sponsor, they're all working in their areas.
Oh, that's awesome.
Successfully, they're planning on maybe buying a house or moving to another state or having kids, because there's a safe aspect that you get, once you feel like, let me rephrase
when you have that green card.
Yeah.
Now you're like, okay, now I can make plans.
I can make plans.
I don't have to think about, when do I have to renew again?
Yeah.
When's the renewal going to come up? What if legislation changes?
Exactly.
What if the cap? What if the lottery? All those things.
Yeah, it's always
peace of mind to move on with your life.
To move on, yeah. I mean, I don't have to talk about the benefits of having a green card, because every immigrant knows really well about that. But it's just, it is true. It changes. It changes the way you see your life in America. It changes the way, it's not, because I think most immigrants, they're constantly a little bit here, a little bit back home.
Yeah.
At least myself, it was, okay, if things go wrong here, I can go back home safely. I can invest in something back in Brazil, because then I can open a business or whatever. You can never really pour yourself completely on any project, because you're always afraid something might happen. But now it's the opposite. And I feel that I'm way more Brazilian in myself here now, because I'm confident that I can make things work because of this. And that's
I have every confidence in the world
with
you. I tell you, I do. I do. Absolutely.
I'm really, it changed my life, and I'm thankful to you and the whole BDV team.
We did it together. I mean, it's an honor to help people.
Why did you start it? What motivated you to help people in that direction?
My husband was an international attorney, so he's got his law degree and an LLM. So he started us on this path, and we learned after we got married that we're really serial entrepreneurs, and that's been invigorating. So it just. Yeah, the road wound, and
you're figuring it out.
And I never thought or imagined it would be what it is now. I mean, because it literally started on my kitchen table with my children helping me file things. Like, I'm going to give you this. Can you help fill out this form? Oh, my children were doing that. It was a family affair. My husband and I would be loading boxes and mailing, because at one point the audits you had to mail just by paper. You could not upload them electronically. Oh, I remember loading the back of my little Chevrolet one couple days, and people were like, and carpool was dropping off, and I'm like, what are y'all loading in your car? There's boxes and boxes to answer this audit, all these audits. But it was, did I think that I was going to be here and be able to impact? I mean, so now we have over 7,000 foreign nationals that we're helping through this. Wow. Never in a million years did I think that. I mean, never. So.
Well, same. Never in a million years. You see, there's a lot of
just go
things.
For it, right?
Yes.
Just go for it and
go
do what's right. And I really tried just to make small baby steps, but sometimes you do have that big leap you have to make. You got to be ready to make that big leap.
Yeah. To me, was applying to this.
So you made that big leap. Yeah. So then once you do it, you're like, okay.
Now
I made the big leap. Now I got to keep walking. Just keep walking, right?
There's so much work involved, you know, and I constantly think about that. There's, you know, of course, there's applying, there's BDV part of the process, there's immigration working, but you also have to do part of the work. You know, I don't think it's fair to just put that responsibility totally on someone else. You know, I do believe that. So you have to keep feeding good things to your mind and keeping positive and just believing it's going to work, you know, and do your thing. Keep saving money, keep preparing emotionally, keep packing your stuff to move across the country.
And just be ready to, like you said, like, don't wait. Just sometimes you just gotta make that big step, leap forward, or you'll never go forward, right?
You'll never go forward. Yes, yes. I'm glad I did.
Me
I'm
too.
glad I took
Me
it.
too. So part of that as an immigrant that I see so much is just making that decision, and I see how strong so many of our clients are. I mean, it's a hard decision, but I think that makes them such character building for them, and makes them like, okay, I've made this big step. I'm going to America. I'm going to make this happen. Do you feel like that with you, or do you see that in other immigrants, that it just gives y'all? I just see that it gives you this will to fight and make it work and succeed, because you've left what you know. You left what your family. I mean, that's a big step.
That's a big step. I think I can feel that from every immigrant. Like when I walk in a restaurant, for example, owned by an immigrant, and they're there every morning doing their thing, you know, and you can sense the determination and how much they want to succeed. And for me personally, back home, you know, I never thought when I was growing up that I would, you know, move to the US. It wasn't in my mind. When I started thinking about that was because of Julia Child, because I wanted to do the program that she created at Boston University. So then I came up with this plan.
I didn't know this.
Yes, it was Julia.
All right.
And then I told,
so it all comes back to Julia.
It goes back to Julia, because I watched Julia and Julia, and then I became obsessed when I was a teenager. I was 15, and then I figured Julia had created the gastronomy masters at Boston University, and then I told my parents I wanted to do it. They did not allow me, and then I said, well, once I'm done with law school, that's my next step. But it was just, you know, it wasn't a real plan. It was just like one day. And then one day I woke up, and my husband, my boyfriend at the time, said, well, I think you're really unhappy with whatever you were doing in law. Like, give it a shot. Do you want to move to the US? I said, well, I don't speak a single word in English, first of all.
At that point, you did not speak?
I did not. I never studied English. I mean, I lived in the forest. We did not have to speak English.
You didn't need to.
No. And then I did not speak in English. I could read a bit, but that was it. I could order coffee too, so that was good enough. And then we sold everything we had, and then we got super excited but super afraid at the same time, because how long until we're home again? You know, how long until I'm eating rice and beans with my family, and my grandparents are getting older, and if something happens, and how about my mom, and you know, and my friends the way I know, and my language, and the music, and the weather, and all of that, because I came from a very hot and humid forest to Massachusetts. And, you know, like there's a big change, and I think every immigrant thinks about that. In a very intense, deep way, but the determination is so strong that it goes above. You know, you think like, I can succeed, I can one day. To me, was I want to have a master's degree in gastronomy. That's what was my goal when I arrived. What did not happen until this day, but maybe one day.
Well, I think that's what makes immigrants such strong contributors to our economy, entrepreneurship, innovation. I mean, you see all that's going on, and you read about all the immigrants and the differences they're making in Silicon Valley and technology, and just the innovation and just the guts just to say, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to start this startup. I'm going to start this restaurant. I'm going to do this business.
And what I think in America is that there's room for everyone to succeed. Even like with the most basic of ideas that you have, you know, even if you think it's silly, there's room for everyone to succeed. I often think about that. I don't think my career would be as successful in Brazil as a food writer as it is right here. Because my voice is different. I have different things to tell. Maybe it wouldn't happen there. So I think what motivates people to become immigrants is just this desire to, you know, share a little bit of who you are, your story, your determination. And I do think immigrants are really, really resilient and strong. And we do go through, I mean, my family, you know, like Christmas, only my husband and I in snowy Massachusetts, you know, and just calling my mom like, hey, I wish I was home. What am I doing? Is that, you know, should I be here? Is that enough? Is that the life I want? And then the other day you wake up and you're like, no, that's really what I want. And that's the way I'm going. And if it doesn't work, it's fine. But I do believe it's going to work.
You know, and it forces the immigrant to dig deep. And to really think about, what do I want out of my life? And I think some people can just go through the steps and just kind of, you know, keep, you know, like a little tumbleweed and just kind of go where the wind blows. But I think that this process, the life of an immigrant and the choices you make, makes you dig deep and say, what do I want out of this one life I have here?
What
do I want?
What do I want? Exactly. To me, it was a lot about it too. I lost my dad. He was only 44 when we lost him. And then you start thinking about your own death, which is
losing a parent that young.
And then you know, you question yourself. And if I only live until 44, what do I want to do with this that I have? You know. And then in that way you kind of
goosebumps.
But we're doing just fine, you know.
Well, that's just awesome. You dug deep and you decided, yes. I'm sitting here in snowy Massachusetts when I could be home with my family, you know, like you said, eating rice and beans in warm forest. But you dug deep and said, you know what? I'm going to dig deep, and I think that's going to lend to your success as you move forward in your career and your life.
There's good in everything, you know. There's for a situation might look terrible at the first glance, but
at least you learn from it too.
You learn, and time will change things. You know, like something that you look now might look terrible. You know, like working for my sponsor. You know, oh my God, I'm so afraid. I don't know how to do this. I have no clue how to put these fries in the fryer and not burn all of them or burn myself. And then the next day you're like, well, I'm kind of getting better at it. You know, there's good.
I'm the fry master.
I became the fry master at my job. You know, and you find pleasure in little simple things, and then you look back at those things and you feel proud of yourself for how you've done it.
Well, I can just say everybody here at BDV is so proud of you, and so proud of so many of our foreign nationals that dig deep, fight hard, do jobs they never thought they would ever do because they are so educated. So we're in awe of all of our immigrants and what they do and how they dig deep and take this leap. So, attorney in Brazil, to student in Massachusetts, to California, working at a McDonald's in a fast food restaurant. Wow, that was so. You've seen lots of different work environments. From your law office to that. So tell us a little bit about what you found there, what you discovered about yourself, what you discovered about others. How did you find your fit? How did you make it work for you?
I think, you know, we all have expectations on how things will look like, and they were all wrong. First of all, you know, not bad, not worse, just different. But I knew one thing. I knew I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to be, you know, to deliver my best to this company, because I always felt I came from a place of gratefulness. You know, like I'm only here.
They sponsored you for an opportunity that you would not had otherwise.
And I think that's also an important advice for people in this process, because it's really easy when you were there with your green cards in your hands, you visited your family back home, and then you have to go back to your job that you probably don't like. That's okay. To forget that you should be grateful, you know, to what you have. Because
stay grateful for the opportunity of the employers.
You know,
I agree.
It's just to close your eyes and pretend you're not there and keep going.
So I've heard you speak and read some of your readings, and you talk about being the home cook. I mean, even you told me, like, well, I'm really not a chef. And I was like, are you kidding me? You went to court. Yes, you are a chef. And she said, but you were saying that you're really a home cook. Well, I grew up with an amazing home cook. My mother was so I'm Southern, of course, and my mother did not know how to cook when she married my father, but she learned very fast, trained by my grandmother, who was another amazing Southern cook. But yes, my mother showed her love for everyone by cooking. Growing up, and now, the little dress shop that's around the corner from her house here in Greenville, before she passed away a couple years, she would take them cookies and things. I'm like, you're taking this into the dress shop? Are you kidding? But that was the way she expressed her love. And hearing what you're talking about and how you see food and cooking for your family and that love. But I definitely grew up with that in my family, with my mother just expressing her love for all, just by cooking for all of us, making our favorites, and I love that.
Do you cook? Do you cook nowadays?
I'm too busy here at BDV to cook.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
You have too many immigrants.
I cook on the weekends. Like during the week, I just don't have time. But I'm looking forward to having more time.
I know.
To cook.
And that's my relation with food, is exactly that, because I did not want a career where I couldn't be thinking about food all day. That's why I changed, because when I was working at the office, my mind was I only had cookbooks and not legal books, and I said something's wrong.
That's so funny.
Because I do find, there's a connection with people. At the end of the day, it's all about people. Food is just a vehicle to connect me to people and stories, and then to share. There's no safer space than a shared table. Where you're eating, like chicken soup, the simplest thing.
So do you have like a home favorite that if you miss home, that you're like, okay, I'm gonna cook this Brazilian thing. It reminds me of my.
Brazil has a lot of comfort foods,
Well, the South does too.
Yes, we have that in common. I do. You can feel that when you go to Brazil. You're gonna sense the way we navigate in the kitchen is very similar. It's very generous. It's fulfilling. It is, your heart is there, and I love that. We do have a lot of comfort food in Brazil. I think rice and beans are number one. Every Brazilian abroad, whenever they feel like they want to be home, they're gonna eat rice and beans. In general, it's just that idea of having a big meal. It could be pasta. It could be even in my home, it's just my husband and I. And I make huge meals just for the feeling of sharing a table. And that's probably why I performed well in the Julia Child Challenge too, because it was a lot of food we had to cook, and I'm used to it.
And you're used to that, So you were built for that.
The dish I most love cooking is my dad's fish soup that I did on the show, actually.
I saw that episode. I promise I did,
And then that was actually a huge surprise, because I grew up eating the soup. It's an adaptation of a Brazilian traditional dish called moqueca, but it's different because my dad made it with, whatever we found. And it's a freshwater fish. It's different. And then I grew up eating it, and there's no recipe. I just have an idea of what to do. And then on the show, I had to come up with the dish that I had no clue I had to. And then I said, well, maybe I'll do a fish soup. Which in my mind was like, this is dumb. I cannot do a fish soup. No one's going to like it. And then no one had tasted anything like that before.
I remember.
So you see, I believe in doing simple things, and that's why I believe in the power of the home cook, because the home cook changes things, It's the one that introduces you to new flavors. And I love, of course, fine dining and haute cuisine and all the classy of the French.
Right.
But home food is where your heart is.
Is where the heart is. I agree with that. It's a special place for me too.